it's not like you're on the road to just it's smooth forever. They've just poured the asphalt, like everything is incredible. This is where you're going to meet someone and you both really need to do the work even more because you've been given this incredible opportunity to have this harmony in many ways, but you're here to be in opposition at times and to move through that and to continue to evolve.
Loverly presents the Wedding Podcast, a show for those on the road to I Do. From relationship advice to wedding planning tips, we break it down. I'm your host, Kelly Khalil, bride-to-be and the founder of Loverly, a DIY wedding planning platform. Over the years, we've helped tens of thousands of couples get down the aisle. And now that it's my turn, I'm not holding back. I'm bringing in my besties, wedding pros, and some brides-to-be you may know to talk through everything from picking the perfect venue to mastering your relationship. It's time to plan smarter so you can focus on the happily ever after. You've got the ring, we've got the rest. Okay, this week we have one of my dear friends on the podcast. It's a little different than our normal episodes. Eva is a very dear friend of mine. She is the founder of Office of Oneness, where she is a shaman, a healer, and a brand marketer. Okay, I know it's a little all over the place, but let me tell you, she is one of the most magical people I've ever known. She also happens to be a bride-to-be herself, so she recently is engaged. We're going to talk all about how to unblock and unlock love in your life, the concept of soulmates, and when to trust your intuition in relationships. Enjoy. It's so fun when I actually get to bring on a real life bestie onto the podcast. So it's everyone who's listening is in for a treat because I feel like Eva is one of my secret weapons. She's in my of just bringing magic into my life. She is a healer. She is a wonderful mother and friend, and now she is a fiance as well. So she's in this same life stage as me and so many of you all listening. So I'm very excited to introduce you all to my very, very dear friend, Eva.
Thank you, Kelly. It's wonderful to be here and to support your community. Thank you.
So for people who are listening who don't know, when I say you're a healer and you are a shaman, they're like, what does that mean? If you're not into the woo-woo, which I'm very into the woo, but just what does that all mean to be a shaman and a healer? And how does one become a healer? Tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, I think a lot of people have a different journey, but I can share mine, and mine is a common case, which is I had a certain experience as a child where I was very, very sensitive, and it was partly just who I am, and I mean it's in my astrology as well, but also the family that I was born into, it made me even more sensitive. And I think also because of my roots, I'm Hungarian. Both of my parents are from Hungary. They were next door neighbors, old world. We're coming from a culture where the woo is very normal, even amidst the science and the medical. So whatever the case is that I was raised here, and I was a little freaked out about having access to these skills. And then living in New York City, I shut a lot of things down, working a corporate job, etc. And I kind of couldn't contain it anymore in my mid 20s, and I started having my awakening. And so it was kind of just like the pressure of like a diamond being made, you know? And whatever that pressure is going to show up for a different person. Um, really kind of cleaning my physical body and starting to attune my gifts, my intuition, learning how to trust my intuition. I would say, the first thing I did, like a lot of people, I studied Reiki and I became certified in Reiki. I went with my mom. So not everybody goes with their mom for Reiki certification, but I did. Um, and with that, I then, just kind of got comfortable with having access to other things. The system I learned of Reiki, it's a particular type because my teacher was a practiced magic before. So it's a very limitless system. I then went and I got clairvoyant training. And this is where I feel like the confidence and the courage really came in to trust what I was receiving. And for everyone, they have different clairs. Mine is hearing and it's knowing, and then it's a certain type of seeing, I would say. Um, and, you know, you're always kind of attuning these things. So for me, I was able to really directly access them and receive direct feedback because I was in groups. Um, And through that process, I was really waiting for shamanic training to begin. And I studied with the incredible Stephen Feely and Colleen McCann, who have Pampa Masayok Shaman School. Stephen is one of the main teachers at the Four Winds, and he is just such an exceptional, incredible, dynamic, loving human. To have him as a teacher was everything. It still is. And that's when I began what we call the Pampa Masayok, which is the medicine wheel. So it's studying the four directions. Um, and this is where you face your fears and you face your wounds and you turn your wounds into medicine. And in that system, we're using those wounds, which we've turned into medicine, to act as part of the healing process. And so within our portable altar, our mesa, we have these 12 wounds, which we've turned into incredible pieces of medicine, and we have a lineage stone. And so we use those during a session. In my sessions, it's a little bit different because I'm weaving a few worlds together. And the way I say that is that energy runs magnetically, horizontally, okay? And, you can kind of visualize this. It's flat, it's of the earth. And then we also have energy that's running electromagnetically. It's really fast, it's really light. And if you can think about it in terms of people too, are people out of their bodies a lot? A lot of New Yorkers and people in LA are. And are there people that that are really, really grounded? They're heavier, they move a little slower. It doesn't matter if they're thin or they have some extra love. It's like this is a way a person feels. So essentially with these modalities that I work with, the indigenous medicine runs magnetically, it runs horizontally, whereas the Reiki and the magic and some aspects of the Celtic shamanism I'm working with, because it's a very limitless system, it runs electromagnetically. We're made of both, so I'm really working on bringing those things into balance. And, my sessions will include a lot of different things, but essentially, big picture, that's what I'm really balancing and working on because we really do need that, especially in this time of like immense chaos.
You said so much that I'm just going to double click into. So bear with me a second here. So anyone who's listening who doesn't know what Reiki is, it is a form of Japanese energy healing, where, my mom was actually a practitioner. So I was exposed very, very young, and she used to do energy work. And it's a way of moving energy systems or moving energy through your physical body and your energetic field. This is my understanding of it. Obviously, Eva, you're the pro. You can share more. But sometimes in our everyday life, whether it's emotions or um, small traumas or things that happen, we can get stuck, right? We can get stuck in our body. And Reiki is a tool that you can use, that practitioners use to help move that energy. Did I say that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's where the beauty of some of the other modalities come in too, because we not only can get stuck, and there's a lot of ways we can get stuck, not only just with like a chakra. There are many different systems of perceiving the chakras, but let's say the general the seven chakras, it's like
What
they
are they?
can,
Tell us. Break it
well,
down.
there are other ways. Thank you, Kelly. It's like I just go like
We're
so far
speaking
and so
healer, and
high. Okay. So essentially, when we're talking, our chakras are also communicating with one another. And it's like imagine it's another just I want to say like head on our body with there it's a sense of like feelers. And
mm-hmm.
it's a way that we're bringing in and sending out energy. But so imagine that wave of in and out, things can get stuck and things may not come in or things may not go out. We want to make sure that, you're open and flexible. It's like not just in yoga, it's important to do that, but it's also important in our energy field. Now, in the other systems that I've brought up, we can also have, if there's a pattern of stuckness that goes for years and years with someone that hasn't necessarily been healthy, there might be like an actual formation of something energetic within our bodies. And that's something that
Like a
can
tumor,
be,
you mean? Or like a physical growth? Like it
it's
actually
not
manifests in your
physical.
body?
It's not
Oh, okay.
physical, it's energetic. But it can lead to like a much more intense type of block where, you
Mm-hmm.
know, this can be removed easily and with grace. We also have cords, so energetic cords. So, in the fact of having a child, that's a really healthy cord because the mother and the child are connected through this cord, and there's a healthy sense that the child needs of really being attached. As they get older, much older, we can start that cord is going to evolve and transition, and at some point the cord is going to detach, and the child is going to become an adult and they're going to go and live their lives. However, sometimes we have relationships in our lives where those cords may be unhealthy and they may actually be drawing energy away from us and going into another person. Or maybe
So that's
we
when
put,
people say like cord cutting. Like we need to cut
yes, that's
cords
right.
when you have a breakup or you
That's
you
right.
you break up with a friend or a relationship
Oh,
that is toxic.
and it's so painful. It's usually more painful for the person who put the cord into the other person.
Hmm.
So when I cut a cord, it's very gently done and we send the person a lot of love. But like crazy things happen. That person may text right away or just pop up and like what's going on or even in a loving way I've seen it. It's very interesting. So cords exist. Yeah. And there's also darkness. I have to talk about the darkness just for a moment. But it does exist. The world is very, very light right now, and it's very, very dirty. If you turn on the news, look at the paper, whatever, you're going to see it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's really important we have something called spiritual hygiene, and we keep ourselves really clean. So when clients come to me, it's like you get that shower, that energetic shower of like, okay, let's clear all these blocks, anything that's there. Cords are a little different. We have to discuss it, make sure it's the right time to cut a cord, etc. Because sometimes that might take years if that's someone and that's a complicated family member, let's say. But there's we just have to consider everything, and there's a lot of talking happening. So yeah.
So we just went really, very, very deep into the woo right away. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit again here. So, for people who don't know what the chakras are, they're 7 energetic kind of spheres that live in your body, and they're at specific places, starting at the base of your spine, going up through below your belly button, right above your belly
Well,
button.
so
You can Google
they're
a photo.
they're more funnels, and they go from, the very base of the spine to 2 fingers below the belly button is where the second chakra is. The third chakra is going to be like right below the rib cage. The fourth chakra is the heart, and that is really the bridge between the two, like the lower and the upper. And then we have our throat. We have our third eye, our seat of intuition, the pineal gland. And then we have our seventh chakra and how we're connecting to the divine. And so those are the 7 chakras. There are other systems that may have more, but
And they
that's
all
like
have a color.
101. What's that?
They all have a color, and there's
Yes, they do.
emotions, organs, all these things that are tied into them. But
Absolutely.
the reason why I brought you on here, Ava, because you just gave like a woo woo 101, right? Breaking down all the ways that you're using your tools to help clear people. But the reason why I wanted to bring you on is because throughout our friendship, one, you've been, a great friend, but also you've worked with me on clearing energy and blocks, etc. But you have shared many a story with me of you working with women or men or people in partnership, um, to unblock and unlock love in their life.
Yes.
Specifically, I remember a couple stories you shared where there were women who, I mean, we all have that friend, right? That has it all. It looks like a great career, beautiful, great person, right? And successful. And then you're like, wait, why don't they have a partner? I don't understand. And they feel like they're blocked or there's something going on. Or they could be in the opposite, right? There's just someone who's down in the dumps and can't seem to get it out of their own way. And that's kind of where you've come in quite a few times for people to help them shift their energies, whether it's through clearing chakras, Reiki, cords. I mean, you just mentioned a whole slew of tools. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you've worked with people to clear energy, to allow people to attract in their life love and what it is that they truly want.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's like one of the greatest blessings that I've experienced as a healer is supporting people in opening up their hearts to really being in relationship and calling in that person and doing it very rapidly after a session. To also helping people save their marriage, where things are really challenging. One of them is possibly very stuck, the other one's really frustrated. There's a host of reasons why people in marriages and relationships get stuck. But, when I can help a family, especially when there are children involved, it's just like, it's so great. And it's because it's helping the world exponentially because you've helped many people. And that's really why I'm here. Um, you know, it's really interesting when mainly women come into my life, and they're really looking to finally, meet the one. And oftentimes we're talking about a timeline where it's like 38 to 44, midlife crisis. In astrology, we call it the Uranus opposition is happening during that time. It's like kind of your second wave of adulting after your late 20s, your Saturn return. And people are like, oh my God, I've got to get with the program. And I've been trying, but it hasn't been working. And whatever it is, where it's like, there's too much perfection that they're seeking, or there is possibly in this lifetime some really intense heartbreak. Maybe there's a cord still inside of you from another partner that you had. How are you supposed to meet someone when there's no space? So, like, that's wonderful to release. Or someone's broken up and they're finally like, listen, I've got to get going here. I've got to meet someone. I'm getting older. Like I want to have kids. I want to still be able to have children. So I'm called in, and it's happened a few times. I mean, I'm really,
How do people find you though? Because
it's
this is the thing is
all,
I met
yeah,
you through word of
yeah,
mouth, right? It's not like you're
yeah.
like out there. You don't even advertise that you do this. It's, I mean, you at your career, you are a brand marketer. Like you run a beautiful agency. So it's like you literally have two lives. Like I know you in both capacities, but just so everyone's listening, Ava runs an incredible brand marketing firm working with like some of the biggest brands in the world who are looking for more of a conscious kind of way of doing business and messaging. But also just, and you work with a lot of female entrepreneurs as well. So that's her day
Absolutely.
job. That's what she does, right? But then she has this like incredible gift where for whatever reason, it's not your main focus of you live in the real world, right?
Yes, I
Um,
do. I really do.
but people find their way to you for this. And I've referred you to personal friends because you've done work on me, and I am a full believer because I've seen it, right? I felt the transformations,
Mm.
which I'll share some of the stories about, some of the stuff that you've done with me. But how are people finding you? Like, how are they knowing, like,
It's word
this is
of
possible?
mouth. It's word of mouth. This is like a gift to do this work. It's my pleasure. So I, I would imagine I'm always good with kind of, I don't know, not necessarily staying in touch with people because I am a partner. I do have a partner. I am a mom. I am running a business. It's very busy. But, just kind of living in New York City, living in the Hamptons, living upstate, over the last, I don't know, 25 years, I've cultivated a network, and people know that things have evolved. A client will recommend me to a friend. I don't have a website for this. People can reach out to me, through Instagram or through my website. The email is there, and we can book a session.
I'll
But it's
link it.
like,
I'll link
yeah,
it.
but it's like people just, they somehow find me, and that's how I like to run this business. And I run my other business that way too. It's really all word of mouth, all of it, and it always has been. And I think
All
there,
energy.
it's all energy, and it's like, am I being open or am I being closed? And like when I'm ready, I'm open, and everything comes in like the perfect timing, because I do the work. I clear myself. I keep myself open, and the right people come in, and it's really interesting doing this healing work. It's really, really such a beautiful gift. I do weave it into the brand and the business planning work that we do for clients, because as entrepreneurs, and people working in business, you have all your stuff come up. And it's like, yeah, you want to keep evolving, but like you might be stuck. I mean, I'm just resetting frequency. Like we have a blueprint, it's one of our energetic fields. So it's like something might be off. I'm going to work on it. Or maybe you have this incredible desire to do this and that. And it's like, okay, well, let's really put that in your field after we've cleared you and you're in really good shape. And then I want you to go and do it, whether it's finding the partner, taking the business to the next level, or cultivating new friendships, whatever it is going to be. It's, it's all kind of just working with this field and the frequencies. Yeah.
So I,
So,
I interrupted you because you were telling a story about people coming to you who
hmm,
were looking for partnership. And then I was like, I paused you there. So
sure.
rewind back to that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I found this to be so fascinating. And as I mentioned, there are so many, we all have that friend that for whatever reason,
Mm.
wants partnership and doesn't have it. And, this is, a wedding podcast, but it's all about people who are ready for the ring, whether you have the partner or not, right? So
Yes.
how can someone, clear themselves or open themselves up um, to align their energy to find the right partner?
I think it's like a lot of people are having an awakening or they're at a different stage of the awakening, whether it's been a week or it's been, 20 years. And during that process, you're probably finding a lot of different ways of caring for yourself energetically. We all kind of know about sage and Palo Santo. Those are actually really, really helpful with keeping yourself clear. It's not going to
Fear of what?
just keep the energy clear with, let's say you're in New York City and you took the subway. You probably, when you get home, you want to sage or Palo Santo yourself because there's stuff around. There are people's emotions that they can throw at you from walking down a sidewalk or like a tiff at the grocery store. Someone throws you shade. Well, it's really good to clear yourself. And so that's one way of clearing yourself. There are a lot of ways. You can use water also, like when I take a shower sometimes, it's a quick way. I connect with the water and I ask it to clear me. Very important as well. I ask the water to go down the drain and then to transmute back into love and light because you really need to tell energy where to go. It's like you're talking to someone, as wild as that sounds. But, the elements and plants, everything is alive. It carries a certain amount of electricity inside of it. Like we're actually in this incredible connection with an interconnection of everything. It's why our business is called Oneness, because that's the whole point. It's like we are all connected. We do have to do our work to keep ourselves clear. And it's like, do you have negative thought loops about anything like that you're aware of, or maybe you're subconsciously coming into awareness of what that is? You probably want to work on those things because that's not necessarily keeping you in like an easy flow in life. And this is where, an energy healing session could be supportive to kind of release that loop that's running and also, put in some different intentions into the field. There's a lot of work there's like a lot of spiritual hygiene that I could get into right now, but these are some basic things. Yeah.
One thing that I know you've said to me in particular, because I'm very empathic. I lived in New York City for 12 and a half years in Manhattan and in Brooklyn. And I didn't realize how the energy of other people was impacting me until I left the city. And
Yes.
I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, my nervous system can't handle being here. And what was I putting myself through for all those years? And I learned this about myself, but you also pointed it out, is that people who are very sensitive, right? I tend to be a little bit more empathic and emotional. We need to be careful about what we watch as far as like TV shows, the type of music we listen to, the things that we read, because I'm someone who gets very disturbed if I see like a murder crime show or a horror show. Like it impacts me and I feel scared and I feel bad for weeks. And so it's one of those things where one of the hygiene things for me is I don't do scary, I don't do depressing, I don't expose myself unnecessarily to dark emotions, because it sticks to me. I can't get rid of it. I can't shake it. And it really does impact me. And for some people who maybe are not, built the way that I am, that might sound like totally foreign and so kind of crazy and woo woo, but like a lot of women I know are wired the same way. And our environment can really impact, right, how we feel and how the energy that's attached to us, but also what we're able to put out in the world. And like, there have been times that I have felt, blocked. I'm saying air quotes, right? Blocked, when it came to career or relationships or, even in my current partnership, because I was not kind of doing these little clearings or maintaining, this spiritual hygiene, if you will. And I know in particular, when you're looking for a relationship or partnership, that can be a really deep wound. That can be something that like feels impossible to overcome, but like you've done it like so many times. Like this is like it's like a thing that you've become known for. So what are some of the things that you're seeing when you're working on, different women who are trying to open themselves up for love? Like what are the themes that you see that potentially could be not blocking them, but are in the way?
It's typically, it's oftentimes, not always the case. It's a previous relationship issue. And it often is primal. So it's often from mother or father. There may have been, there may be a narcissistic parent. And it creates a lot of complications. And it's really important to support the person with that and to help them remove cords in terms of that and really allow them, allow their hearts to really experience being fully supported in a way that they may not have been. And I find relationship issues, when someone is having trouble meeting someone, it's equally could be the mother or the father. In other cases, it's oftentimes, there was heartbreak and that person never really fully let that person go. And you really can't meet someone if your heart is still in a place. You have to be ready. I can help move that process along very quickly. It's like I always tell clients, it's so important that we do this work, whether it's once or a few times or like once a month for a while, but you still need a therapist and or a coach because you have to be held accountable for how you're taking care of yourself every day, every week. Like I'm coming in and I'm opening the field of opportunity, but then you've got to do that work. And I'm definitely going to give you like the jet fuel that you've been waiting for. But you have to do the work. You have to show up. You have to change your environment in order to be really primed for opening yourself up. And, like if I do this work and then you're not going out and meeting new people and you're waiting for the phone to ring, that's a little challenging. It's like you've got to really show up as well.
Switching gears a little bit, partnership, relationship dynamics, right? There's obviously an energetic exchange that's happening with, not just attracting in your partner, but then the dynamic of your relationships. And we've had, relationship coaches on here talk about how there are these patterns from childhood that come up, right? That block you from, not block you, but have a major impact in how you communicate and engage with your partner. But I'm curious about kind of the otherworldly energetics of that. Because,
Yeah.
We might lose people here, but past lives, dynamics of relationships that are not just in this time space reality, but like impact the dynamic of a relationship. I'm curious to kind of hear your perspective on that and what you see in partnerships.
So in terms of past lives, like tell me a little bit more about what you want to know. Like when
Well, I'm
there are
just curious because I always
challenges or
hear, yeah, because I always hear about like past lives, like, oh, people talk about bad relationships that they're in or good relationships that they're in with like their soulmates and they're repeating patterns, not like childhood patterns like in traditional psychology, but patterns from like previous lives. And I'm just like
yes. Yes.
fascinated by that, but
Okay.
understanding like the energetics of it, right? Like it's a thing that I've
Yeah.
heard about.
I
What does
I
it
mean,
mean?
what's really interesting here is like we have to start bringing up karma. So, it's like we have karma in this lifetime, we have karma from past lives. Um, and it's really important to do our work and really do as much as we can to clear our karma in our lifetimes if that's something we're called to do. And one of those ways is being in relationship with people. And let's say it's, a love relationship. I mean, it could even be someone you went on one date with, honestly. You may clear that karma or you might strengthen that karma, depending on how you're showing up. It's like, I mean, just simply put, karma is a very complex topic, but let's say in a past life you've been with someone a dozen times. Every lifetime that was your husband. It's like, okay, clearly, like, you're trying to work through something, or this person, this, let's say the husband is really needs to step up and do the work. And they're just, for whatever reason, it's very challenging for them to become embodied and work through their trauma. So you're going to keep coming back into a lifetime together to work through that. And yes, you have to take care of your lane for sure. And it's our job to really be there and support each other. But it's like, that's where I've seen this come up so many times. I mean, we also have lifetimes where we have the same child come in as our child. And that's really extraordinary too. It's like you are both like as souls evolving together. So yeah, I mean, when I'm working with clients, we're definitely working on all of that as well. And that definitely can get very, very woo-woo. It's, we want to
So,
go as deep as it gets.
so
Yeah.
then do you believe in the concept, or how would you explain the idea of like a soulmate or a twin flame? It's like somebody, because people use the word soulmate, right, when they're in their vows or when they've decided that they want to, commit to forever with someone. Like
Yes.
how do you
Yes.
explain that?
I mean, it's just like, it's that feeling, as I'm sure you have also. I have this with my partner, Jude. I feel like I've come home. And you know that something's up from that first time you talk, from the first moment that you meet. They're like, whoa, what is going on here? And it's so vastly different than anyone else you've really been with. Some people, like myself, I guess because I'm supposed to be experiencing so much in this lifetime, I may have gone through experiences where I've had multiple people that I've been married to and been in relationship with them and processed karma. And that's something else that can happen. And it's like, but I know that this person I'm with now, this is my forever person. They're incredible. And this is my soulmate. Now, things can definitely get derailed. Life happens, even when you're with a soulmate or a twin flame. And I just want to acknowledge this. It's not like you're on the road to just, it's smooth forever. They just poured the asphalt, like everything is incredible. This is where you're going to meet someone and you both really need to do the work even more because you've been given this incredible opportunity to have this harmony in many ways, but you're here to be in opposition at times and to move through that and to continue to evolve. And this is where healings, therapy, coaching, whatever it's going to be, it's all going to really support you. It's like it brings to mind like a certain type of, let's say, marriage where the husband might be really stuck. The wife is like on fire. She's just got it all happening. Everything is amazing. And he, for whatever reason, has gotten stuck. Maybe he's in his midlife crisis. This is where it's like I've come in and supported the wife, supported the husband. He was like, what am I even doing here? And I'm like, just don't worry. You're going to take a nap right now. And just, we're going to work through it. And then weeks into it, months into it, there's just this surge of openness. And then the couple, as far apart as they've gotten, they've come back together in this new way. The wife is like totally attracted to him again. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've got this." And these are things that come in, and it's amazing. It's like being in a relationship, we go through these waves, and it's just we find our way back to one another, and sometimes we really do need to ask for help. Because things do happen, but it's just like patience, kindness, these types of qualities really, really are helpful and really important in being in a relationship, especially in these days. And the world is so tough out there.
It's so interesting to hear just the perspective on, that you could have multiple soulmates, but the one that you kind of land with in this kind of, in this life that you choose to be in long-term companionship or partnership with is, you're essentially committing to evolving your souls together, resolving karma.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I guess in this life, it's, dealing with your shit, right? Working it out together.
Yeah.
And I think one thing people don't talk about is how relationships are so dynamic in that you're never always going to be in an excellent place. Where some people, they talk about the honeymoon phase, or they talk about the, those first phases where you're literally falling in love. And Dr. Shafali had spoken about this on an earlier podcast, where it's literally a chemical cocktail that is going on in your brain that's making you feel high. You're literally high on drugs, on brain
Oh,
chemistry.
you've lost your mind. You've totally lost
Yeah.
your mind, for sure. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. But relationships are dynamic, right? And they ebb and they flow.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's not just, yeah, and sometimes there are kind of external energetic factors that are part of that. And if you don't resolve them, they can get
Yeah.
you quote unquote stuck. And what, I promised I would share kind of how I've worked with you in some stuff. So without revealing too much, but for me as someone who is high anxiety and a perfectionist, as you mentioned, perfectionist can be a blocker for people, right? It's that need to control. And traveling quite a bit for work, and I was not feeling well. I was like, I just had this like achy feeling in my body. The whole right side of my body just felt like I had ran a marathon. My muscles were so tight, and almost like the feeling you get right before you have a flu, right? And of course, it impacts my mood. I was really upset. I was not being kind to Jesse, my fiance, right? He's checking in on me. I was like not doing good. And I was in a hotel room in Austin, Texas, and you just texted me out of the blue. I don't know how you do this with your clairvoyant woo woo powers. And we're like, hey, I'm just checking in. How are you doing? And of course, I'm like, I'm not good. I'm having a horrible day. Like, I probably like diarrhea of my text message, like a 4 paragraph about how miserable I was. And you were so sweet and so kind and said, well, do you want me to work on you while you go to bed tonight? So of course I'm desperate for any type of help. I'm in a bad mood. I'm not feeling good. I'm fighting with Jesse. And I'm like, yes, please do. So I go to bed, and that's that. The next day around like 4 p.m., you texted me to check in with me to be like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I literally was like, what is she talking about? What do you mean, how am I feeling? You had like erased whatever was going on so deeply that I forgot that I had been like so miserable for 2 or 3 days, emotionally and physically. And that's when I was like, okay, I don't know what this woman is doing, but it was like a magic wand ping.
Yeah.
Like you reset me. What, I mean, obviously you've had a lot of training, but like, how do you explain that? Like, what is the experience for you?
You're
Like, that was
you're
my
out of
experience.
alignment. Yeah, you're just out of alignment, right? It was like things were discombobulated. Like, it's like the Legos
But
were
did
all
you get
over
a
the
ping?
floor, you know? What's that?
Like, you get a ping? Like, how did you know to like check in with me? Like, what was that experience for you? Because I'm just so fascinated on like how
Oh
you
my
knew to
gosh.
check in.
It's so crazy. I mean, if someone was to shadow me all day and the stuff that they'd see, it would be so bananas and bonkers. Um, I just have a knowing. It's what I mentioned, the clair of knowing. So I'll just, sometimes I'll hear it, like I need to reach out to this person. I don't question when God, like I hear my own voice. I just do. Because I've learned when I haven't done that, I get like a face plant and it's really uncomfortable. And I don't want a broken nose energetically. So I just have, in my own lifetime, at the age of 44, like aligned myself with, okay, when I have a sense of, I need to see how this person's doing, and it might just come out of nowhere and be just it's like you're like, oh, I'm just thinking of that person. Oh, how you doing? And then they're like, I need help. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. And it's like when I reached out, I asked you, do you need help? And you were like, yes. And it was just like, two souls meeting so that they could help each other. Because as much as I'm helping you heal, you're the healer. I've learned the methodology of how to do it, but you're the one who's actually healing yourself because you're also open to it. It's really important you've given me full permission and you're open. Otherwise, I can't do anything. And it's why I can't do healing sessions on people that, unless they've given me full permission. It's really important. But, through that, like the unspoken thing is that you're also healing me. You're also letting me wash in bringing you into alignment. By doing that, I'm again confirming myself and bringing myself into alignment. And it's like, we're all mirrors. It's so, so, so beautiful. And then I get that gift of like, oh my gosh, I just met someone. Or like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, yeah, wow, I feel amazing today. What just happened the last 3 days? What it was like a nightmare. Yeah, yeah.
So you have all these tools and magical powers. How have you used that in your own life? Obviously I'm your friend. I witness it, but you obviously have this incredible partner. You recently got engaged, and I'm very excited for you. How do you feel like you use these tools in your own life as a woman in the world, in a relationship?
I mean, oh, it's a lot. It's having a practice, and it's I'm lucky I'm with someone who's very spiritual as well, very connected, and I was in a situation where I was engaged at one point previously. It wasn't with my person. And it was a very, very challenging time. We also had a child together, and who was just like the most epic, shining beam of light, and just continues to grow into one.
Cutest little dude of all time.
And his name means love. And, you know, I just was like, the longing in my heart to meet someone, to not only have someone to share my life with, but to also step in and be a stepfather to my son. It was like the greatest desire I had. And so I had a session with a shaman who I had been working with for many years. And this was this was about 7 years ago, exactly. And I kept hearing and receiving this message, and it was in the late summer, to contact Jude, my partner now. And because I was just, I'm hearing my own voice, I kept being like, I don't know, I haven't talked to him in so long. He was someone I had previously known when I met him when I was 29. And I I talked to my shaman about it, and she's like, well, just go and see him. And I was like, okay, I'll just schedule it. I'll do an hour. We'll see. And I would just say that longing in my heart was so deep and vast. I wanted to really have this happen like right now. I didn't want to wait. I had already had time to process the heartbreak, and the loss of like a relationship, a big one, where we had created a child, and I was ready to step into something vastly different. And then we went on a first date, and it was like right there. So I think because I've had this experience, and I know that deep longing so much, and maybe it was even more amplified because I had a child. When a woman comes to me and they're like, I really want to meet my person, I'm like, I know you do, and you deserve to. Let's figure this out. You lay down and rest, and I'm going to go in and we're going to move things around because I want you to be deeply in love. And if it's time for you to have children, let's go. Let's do that. And I think it's just because of my own personal experience of bringing that, it's like that's how some of the magic really happens. Certain healers have certain gifts in a few ways. I mean, this has clearly become one. So it's very exciting. Um,
I
yeah.
love it. Have you, I know you're still in your bliss of engagement. It's been a
Yes.
couple months now, but have you even thought about or dreamed about what you want your wedding to look like? Like, is that even something that's on your radar? I'm just wondering what the healer's wedding looks like. Also have your friend. Where
Um,
are we going?
well, I would say it's definitely interesting what we have in mind, what we've talked about. We're still discussing it all, but like having a really fun engagement party. I mean, you really inspired me. Like your engagement party was so all out, was so incredible. Um, we had such an amazing time. I just love having that also not be such a big deal as well, where it's like everybody can kind of come in and celebrate. In terms of the wedding, we really thought about having something really, really small and something just very like thoughtful and luxe. And I don't know, I had
Intimate.
this vision since I was like a teenager. I had to plan a wedding actually in my fashion business class in high school, which was crazy that they even offered that at my high school. And I had to plan a wedding, and I had a budget and all of that. And I was like, well, I clearly want it to be really fancy and beautiful. And the teacher gave me a very small budget. So how do I do this? And I always had that in mind. I'm like, I kind of love that, you know, because I don't know. There's something about the engagement being really fun, and then the wedding just being really thoughtful. I mean, I would say I would ideally like to have a small wedding here, but then I'd love to have just like a really fun wedding in Hungary and just have it be like just a wild party. And sure, if anybody wants to come to that, they can. That's a friend or family member. But
Yeah.
my parents had a wedding here and in Hungary, and I was always really inspired by that. It was just really, really fun.
Well, it's just so interesting to hear. I'm not surprised that you want the intimate wedding just because you've curated such an interesting group of people over the years, but everything you've done is so thoughtful as far as the people and how you do things. So I'm so excited to witness that journey and when and if you are ready to plan, which obviously I have not started planning mine. I'm here to support. I'm here to support you as you have supported me
Thank
in
you,
my
Kelly.
journey. So, and I just want to thank you for coming in and sharing, your wisdom and your perspective and your gifts with the Loverly audience. I'm going to link your Instagram and your website here. Now, just a little disclaimer. Ava runs a business full time. She's available, but do not blow her up to message her, but don't harass her. Because I have a feeling that after hearing this, there will be many a friend reaching out um, to get in touch with you because of your incredible talent. So I love you. I'm so happy that you were able to spend some time with me and share with the Loverly audience.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It was such a pleasure to be on and to share some new information and just help people step into greater alignment and dream about what they really want to call in. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more inspiration and guidance, check out our new and improved wedding planning platform at loverly.com, where we offer free wedding planning tools and advice to get you hitched without a hitch. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Loverly. Happy planning!